Hey, everybody. This is Will Chow, and welcome to Will's Personal Development Show podcast, where we help you increase your health, wealth, love, and happiness and general success in life. And I'm so happy to have Christopher Lau here today. And he runs this big brand, SeeLauTravel. Actually, small brand in a way, but this is very interesting because he has been able to create a career, a lifestyle in travel with a small brand, which I find even more inspiring than someone with a large following. And so, really excited to have this guy here. I actually found out about you, Christopher. Uh, at first, I thought it was through Lost LeBlanc, the big YouTube travel vlogger, but then I realized, oh, I'm already subscribed to you. I was watching your videos just for fun and didn't know that there was a connection there with Lost LeBlanc. So that was really interesting. But basically, I really wanted to bring you on and just learn about your story, your life, but also help have these young, ambitious listeners take something away. So, Christopher, feel free to introduce yourself or fill in any gaps.
Yeah, sure. My name is Christopher Lau. I'm a full-time YouTube, essentially travel vlogger, content creator, photographer, currently based out in Thailand. I'm in Phuket, Thailand right now with my family. I've been doing YouTube for around 3 years, a little over 3 years now. And I left the 9 to 5 a little over 3 years ago. So before this, I was in corporate sales for about 10 years of my life. I was working at companies like, I'm sure you heard of Groupon. I worked at Groupon for a little. My first sales job was at Quicken Loans, so I sold mortgages. And then I worked at companies like LinkedIn for a couple of years and a couple of big tech companies. And then just, I guess, sitting in a desk once and just realizing that, you only live one life. I also got attached to this YouTuber, right? Lost LeBlanc, who I became friends with. And he inspired me to just travel the world. So one day I didn't really do much international travel. And then I found his YouTube channel. I actually had the biggest quarter of my sales career at LinkedIn. And typically I treat myself to something really nice. And I haven't traveled internationally for over 10 years, right? I think I lost my passport when I was 22 in a move. Because of that, I was just doing domestic travel. So I didn't really, I didn't need to travel internationally. But then I found this guy's channel on YouTube. It inspired me to go to Thailand. I ended up booking a solo trip to Thailand for 10 days while I was at LinkedIn. And that trip changed my life forever. This was in 2016, I think. And because of that trip, I was in the travel blog so hardcore. I never had experienced anything like that, especially by myself. I've never traveled by myself. I went back to my desk job at LinkedIn. And that trip ruined my career, I felt like, in a good way, though. I kept watching Lost LeBlanc videos for the next 2 to 3 months on my desk. I had 3 monitors. There's a little iPad monitor here, and I was just watching vlogs for 2 to 3 hours on my desk, just so inspired to travel. And I kind of knew what I wanted to do whenever I quit or unfortunately get let go or fired, I think, by LinkedIn. I would be traveling. I didn't know if it was for pleasure or if I wanted to vlog or anything like that, but I knew I wanted to just travel and see things. And 3 months passed, and I ended up quitting my job. I prepared it really well. I ended up traveling the world for 4 months, around Asia, Africa, Europe. And then I ended up going back to a 9 to 5, but I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to save up the money, learn how to edit, and then quit my job to travel and do this full time. So I ended up getting a 9 to 5 job again. I ended up working my butt off for about a full year in corporate sales. I want to say fortunately, but unfortunately at the job that I actually dislike the most. So this is one of those typical sales cutthroat environments that everyone typically will think of, and have a bad stomach on the sales type atmosphere. And this was that company, and I didn't like that. Going from LinkedIn to a company that said they were like LinkedIn, we promised we'll have LinkedIn culture, and once they hired me, it was non-existent. It was cutthroat, and it was no respect type environment.
Oh no.
It actually made me hungrier. It made me go home. I quit playing tennis. I used to play tennis religiously. I quit playing tennis to get my editing better. I wanted to learn everything quicker to get out of there a lot quicker. So if I was at a job that I would have liked, it would have been more difficult to quit again. When I quit LinkedIn, I cried. I literally cried in front of my manager, and it was the most difficult decision, quitting LinkedIn, a company that really respects people. It's hard to find sales companies and orgs like that. Whereas the very next company I joined, was complete opposite. So it was a good push. I needed that opposite because it made me realize that I didn't want to be part of the 9 to 5 or that workforce anymore. I needed to just get out. It felt like, I've heard of this, either build your own dream or build someone else's dream. And I knew I was building someone else's dream. And the worst part was this person or the people that surrounded them just didn't respect anyone. And I was like, I don't want to build this guy's dream. And it was just awesome to feel that because it made me just work even harder towards leaving. And I got all the skill set better. My friends knew what I was trying to do. I ended up starting to get collaborations and projects in the US. And because I was able to do that, I was confident that I could do it on my own and I could do it around the world. So, one day I ended up taking the leap of faith. This was like in January of 2016 or 2017, actually. And I quit my job and I traveled the world full time. And now I've done this for about 3 years. 2018, my apologies. January 2018, I left.
That's such an incredible story, because I think, a lot of even listeners to this episode probably want something similar, but they're still at that tech job of some sort and they don't like it or they like it. And as you said, maybe the blessing is that you hated your next job and that kind of pushed you. But even then, I think you had some type of winning mindset where you channeled that in a productive way, whereas others might have just got upset about their job but stayed at it. So, yeah, I'm curious, like, for anyone listening out there who you think is in that situation, do you have any like first step tips for them? Or, I'm sure some of them really like travel as well, and they just don't know where to get started.
Well, I mean, I would definitely figure out what you're really passionate about. If you like travel, that's one thing, but, like what else do you like, right? People want to travel and travel for free. I think that's a big thing. I think the big thing is a lot of these people are seeing all these influencers traveling and staying at these places and traveling essentially for quote unquote free, and they want to do the same. Whereas you gotta think about like where's the value that you can bring, right? Is it like, can you provide value? It's not just traveling for free. There's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes, which I'm sure you can imagine as a creator yourself, as a person who runs a podcast yourself. There's a lot that goes behind the scenes. So it's like, are you willing to hustle and grind to follow that dream, right? Like there's this meme that I saw on Instagram a couple of days ago. It's like, I left the 9 to 5 to work 24/7. It was something like that. And it's funny because I did leave the 9 to 5, but I'm working like Saturdays and Sundays, I realized, for my own brand, for my own self. But it doesn't feel like working, right? Like I'd rather build my own dream than someone else's dream. And it's especially my own dream. It doesn't feel like work and I'm having fun with it. So, I think anyone can do it, but you got to be passionate and know what you're trying to do. You have to have a reason to doing it. You just can't say, I'm going to travel for free and I'm just going to go out there and hoping that, you can do it. You have to strategize and be smart with what you do.
Yeah. And that's definitely so true. It's clear that you worked really hard. I think, I think empathy is a big part of it. You're pitching these people and that your sales background where you're trying to pitch these brands or hotels to stay in. I think that's a, key part of it. So I think, any listeners it should be clear that you're not just, getting free stuff all the time without doing any work. You really are hustling, but at the same time, you found something that you love so much that it's not really work in a way. So that's really cool. And I commend you for that. Cause I think, more than anything, I think a lot of people stay in their comfort zone. And, sometimes that's the most dangerous thing. You might have a decent life, but I can't imagine how many people are too scared to take that leap, or they like their cushy job at Google or whatnot, and they're forsaking maybe even greater potential. Maybe they had the ability to travel the world too, but they just never took that leap.
I agree. I totally agree. I was very happy at LinkedIn, but I'm even happier now. So I felt like all the steps meant like it was there for a reason, and everything happens for a reason. So, you got to take that leap of faith to really figure out your truest potential, I feel like.
Gotcha. So you also mentioned like, you spent like 10 years or so in the corporate world. And that got me to this concept of people thinking it's too late. Oh, it's too late. I'm this age. I'm too old now. but it seems like you're older than I thought initially. So do you think like people can still do it despite them being like 30 or 40 or whatnot?
I think anyone can do it, as long as you have the right strategy and the right mindset. So I run a mentor program, and some of my students are young, are my age, and a couple of my students are older, so they literally have kids. So, and they're brand new. They have 200 followers, 1,000 followers, and I ran this mentor program round one last about 4 or 5 months ago, and I had 100% success rate. I have like full testimonials from every single student. Everyone's a different age too. So proof is in the pudding that it works. The strategy works. You just need to you have to be smart. You have to have a little business and sales skills. I hate saying that, but being able to reach out to the right decision makers, speak their language. A lot of content creators, they really focus on getting their photography, videography, all their lighting and everything better, all that type of stuff, which is great. But if you're not getting your business skills and your sales skills and that type of skills also, I mean, how are you going to reach out to decision makers or hotels or speak their language to even get projects and get collaborations, right? A lot of people are just focusing on one thing, whereas they don't realize the business and the sales mindset and those skills are almost just as important or more important. For me personally, I feel like I'm not as good as a content creator or creator than most people that I find on Instagram or YouTube. But I think that for me, I have a much smarter in business and sales skills, much more savvy than most people. That's the reason why I've been able to make it.
Wow. So it seems like your sales and business skills have really kind of been your edge.
I personally think, yeah. That's why I ended up launching a mentor program this year, and people have noticed it. I'm very happy with it. I think sales and business and being able to speak the language and find the right decision makers and track your sales in an organized way and having like a sales process and a pipeline and reaching out to these decision makers the right way, not sending out email templates that all these other creators are selling. If you're learning from, someone, obviously learn from what they specialize in, right? If they're a creator, learn their photography, learn their videography. Unfortunately, most of these creators don't have 10 plus business years in sales skills. And it's really hard to relate a lot of them, right? A lot of them are trying to say, this is how you travel for free. It's kind of easy to say that when you have 1 million followers, but when you can't really relate and put yourself in the shoes of the person who has 200 followers, because maybe that was so long ago, you don't really remember. And maybe your PR is getting half your projects. It's hard to relate, right? So I'm happy that I'm not a big content creator. That's one thing that you've mentioned, right? I know when you started, you said, Chris is a big, he made this big, but he's not at the same time. And that's one thing that I'm really happy with what I can do is, I'm not a big creator, but I'm able to get the same projects that a lot of the big creators are getting and really make this into a lifestyle as a small creator.
That's awesome. And for some context, you have 53,000 on YouTube and 53,000 on Instagram, sorry, and 18.8K subscribers on YouTube. So yeah, I think I think that's very fascinating because you're, I guess, able to pitch and show them that quality, that amount is condensed niche traffic. So let's talk a bit more about your mentor program. You said 100% success rate. What's like the goal here when you say success? Like what does that mean? Have your students been able to land deals or travel for free?
So a lot of creators I've noticed, they have these courses going out, right? They just have a quick course and hoping that everyone buys it and they make money off of it. Whereas I feel like a mentor program, and I was originally going to do a course similar, but I feel like everyone has a different story. I feel like everyone has a different goal in life. In a mentor program, I'm able to work with each individual one-on-one because everyone has a different eye of success. So I don't accept everyone into my mentor program. I have an interview process before each round, like an enrollment and a full interview for like 15, 20 minutes. And as long as we essentially align success on the same page, majority of the people, I need to land a collaboration. I want to get free stay at a 5-star hotel, or I want to get free stay in projects. That pretty much is success. I'm able to do that for everyone in my first round. Half of the students in my first round has already left their 9 to 5 and they're traveling full time too. And they didn't even believe that was possible. But they started realizing, and a lot of them didn't even have confidence, right? So confidence has a lot to do with sales, and a lot of them had no confidence. A lot of the creators are introverts. I hate saying this. A lot of creators I met are introverts, and I'm able to really help them channel their value and really understand the business and sales process, so they are able to have confidence and really pitch properly and pitch their value properly.
Is one of your like criteria for joining like a certain like knack or talent for sales, or do you think that's something that
No,
anyone can learn?
that's something that anyone can learn. I like to, over the call, I want to make sure they have the drive. They taking everything seriously. There's homework assignments that I give, each week to keep up to par. I would say they have to have a certain level of value. Maybe their content creation isn't there, but maybe have a good personality, right? So they have to have something that I can build off of. And essentially, if they have things like that, just in the conversation, seeing a few other things, they can get approved.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, I'm curious about the saturation of like these platforms. Like before I heard about you and your story, part of me thought like Instagram was like saturated like years ago. Like you couldn't start anything now. There's just too many influencers on there. And yet, even your students in your mentor program seems like they've been able to uh, create something, land a deal of some sort with 200, 300 followers. So tell me about that. Like, do you think it's saturated? Do you think there's still a lot of opportunity here?
I mean, I still think. I think social media is the future of advertisement, right? I think a lot of these brands and companies are kind of over just hiring the big PR companies and just throwing out marketing commercials. I think hiring genuine people, that's also the tricky part. So I think that, and a lot of the hotel managers, I actually interview hotel managers for my mentor program, and they've admitted that it's better to work with small creators over big creators because our work is a lot more genuine than hiring a guy with 100, 500K or a million followers. A lot of these decision makers rather hire a guy with 1,000 followers or 500 followers because we're going to put more passion into our work, because we're not just there for the money, right? A lot of the people are still so brand new. They're so excited, especially when they don't have that big of a following, that maybe they don't have millions of followers, but their work is going to be a lot better than that creator because it's seen a lot more genuine. And that's why a lot of brands and companies work with me. I feel like I still get giddy for getting a 5-star stay for 2-3 nights with my family. I still get so excited. Even doing this for 3 years, we stayed at some of the most luxurious resorts that you can think of, $6,000, $8,000 per night. But I still get giddy just like for the 4-star or the 5-star hotel down the block. Whenever I get a couple of nights, a collaboration project, I get crazy excited. And, I think people who get to a certain level after 3-4 years, they don't really care. It's more of a business. Whereas I'm still very passionate with what I do. And I'm even more passionate now teaching people what I do.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so, what about the emerging platforms like TikTok and so forth? I found that TikTok has really, in the last year, blown up. A lot of people have moved over there and gotten crazy engagement numbers. So you think?
I think TikTok is great. It seems like my students are using it as a demographic. Also, they're putting it on their media kits when I'm working with them on media kits. I haven't done that on my media kit. My TikTok, like I had 1 or 2 videos that hit. I have one video that hit 1.3 million. I stopped posting. I didn't post much at all, but they got me up to like 15K followers. This was a year and a half ago when TikTok came out, and I just stopped. I wasn't passionate with it. The short video form and what people are doing. I just personally, I love YouTube. I love YouTube. That's one of my favorite platforms on social media. So all my time goes into that pretty much, besides Instagram. But I think TikTok and a lot of the new social media platforms are great, though. I think a lot of them are great, but as long as you're passionate about it. Just because people are doing it, don't force yourself to do it if it's something that you're not excited about.
Yeah, that's a good point. You don't want to burn out or just not enjoy it all the time.
Exactly. Just because you're trying to keep up with the Joneses or other people are doing it, doesn't necessarily mean you have to, right? I try to stick to things that I'm passionate about, so I'm able to sustain with it.
Gotcha. So if someone's starting with like 0 followers on Instagram or YouTube, do some of the old best practices still work, like maxing out your hashtags?
I still do all that type of stuff on Instagram. I'd like to think yes and no. I think Instagram has changed so much. I think Reels is like one of the best ways to get followers and grow. I think posting video, unfortunately, you're going to have to give in eventually. I know Instagram supposedly is changing their format and trying to go more video format to compete with like TikTok and YouTube. Who knows? We'll see. But I think still I stick with the old school ways when I post, with hashtags, with tags, and posting at certain time of the days. And I used to like and comment on people that I follow, helping it to grow. And that used to help like 3, 4 years ago, but I don't think that helps as much. I think the algorithm has changed too much where it's a little bit harder to grow.
Gotcha. So you're traveling through Southeast Asia these days, and Thailand and related places, Philippines, and so forth. Um, Tell me about that. Like, what are your favorite parts? What are your least favorite parts? What's it like in a typical day for Christopher?
Well, now we're in Phuket, and it's the Phuket sandbox, and then you know what's happening around the world, unfortunately, with this COVID, sadly. Um, I'm just running my mentor program now. So I mean, normally, let's say before COVID, pre-COVID, I was traveling, I was going on trips every other month, so I couldn't stay in Thailand. I didn't have the visa that I have now, so I'm married to my wife, my lovely wife Rachel. I now have a marriage visa, so I can stay in Thailand without having to leave. But I would have to leave. I would have to leave, almost every month. Um, I would end up planning out trips though. So I would either plan out projects with friends or plan out trips leaving, and I would end up leaving the country and just getting as much content as I can. I would try to build videos around where I left, specifically YouTube videos, get as much content as I can. It was a lot of, getting the collaborations and projects beforehand, in front of the email. Once you get there, you just work your butt off, get editing at night or come back home and edit and lay low in Bangkok, play some tennis. I have a family. So I just had my first baby last year. He's 1 year old. He just turned one.
Congrats.
Thank you. So yeah, that was my life before that, just a lot of traveling and leaving. And now I'm able to do it with my family. So, we're in Phuket. I moved the family from Bangkok to Phuket 2 months ago. So we were based in Bangkok originally, but due to the situation in COVID, it's hitting Thailand really bad in Bangkok, majority. We went to Phuket, and now I'm able to do this with my family. I'm able to travel with my family. My wife is very happy with what I do. The kids love it. My wife is very close to leaving the 9 to 5, also helping me full time with my mentor program and everything, which is incredible that I can give her the opportunity to do that. We have a lot of big projects. Potentially, we have a big project that might have us leaving as a family internationally in November to travel the world as a family, representing a certain brand, chain, hotel. So there's a lot of good opportunity coming for the family and I, and it's just, right now, it's just a lot of laying low, trying to create content here and there, running the mentor programs. And when I have the chance and I'm running out and getting content, I would say.
Yeah, I love the fact that you're able to continue to travel and enjoy life and play tennis with a family. I think some people can assume, oh, this is a temporary thing. Once I get a family, I have to settle down, return to normal. But it seems like you were able to not have that limiting belief and continue to just do what you enjoy, which is great. Um, and then, of course, COVID hit, and it seems like things have kind of changed. And obviously, they're still changing, and international travel is still a bit of a mystery. But uh,
Mm-hmm.
what's your take on it? Like, what's it like nowadays? Are things starting to open up, or is it still kind of a flux where you really can't travel anywhere?
Um, in Phuket, I mean, things have been trying to open up because of the sandbox, international tourism without quarantine. That's what the sandbox is. Phuket's allowed certain countries to come as long as you're vaccinated for no quarantine at all. Um, Places are starting to open slowly, but I mean, the unfortunate part, it seems like the COVID cases can just pop back up almost any time, especially with these new strains. So like, there's just so much uncertainty. My friend and I was an incredible photographer. We launched like a tour out in Thailand. A few months ago, we collected emails. We collected over 350 emails of people who are interested in this tour, us touring them around Thailand for 5 days in August, September, October. Once we launched the tour about a month ago, there wasn't anyone that had signed up because of so many restrictions just getting into Phuket. And the difficulty, one example is you have to pay for all your PCR tests, and it's like $100 per test, and they require you to take 3 to 4 of them before you can actually explore Thailand. So even if you come to Thailand, you have to pay $300 to $400 just for your own testing, which is a turnoff, and that's just one of the small requirements. So we get it. I totally get it. At the same time, if you're okay with the requirements, as much as I hate saying it, I think it's incredible to come to Phuket in Thailand right now. You're going to see some of the beaches that are normally covered with tourists, with so many tourists that you just hate being on, dead empty. So like it's kind of like a give and take. Like is it worth it for all the pain? But like once you get out here, it's literally paradise. There's like no one out here still. Majority of the businesses in Port Australia is still closed. It's really slow to open. So I mean, we'll see over the next year. You know, the goal is to have Thailand fully open by the end of this year. I believe like 180 days. I saw the prime minister say something like that a month ago. But I think that's pretty optimistic based on what's happening right now.
Yeah, and I wish well all those small businesses that have been affected by the lack of tourism. I know that's been a
Yeah.
huge global issue, but it seems like things are looking bright, at least a year from now. And so, for you, was it a big, devastating effect, or were you able to stay afloat and keep going during that time?
I think at first it was a pretty devastating effect. So leading into before COVID, I was on a huge project. So I had my biggest like 3/4 of brand deals. So like this was like my brand was starting to like boom. Like I was getting the most views on my YouTube channel. I was getting I think 175,000 views on my YouTube channel with only like 8,000 subscribers. So I was getting a lot more views per month than a lot of other YouTubers. And I just saw something change. And then once COVID hit, all my numbers, everything dropped, all my brand deals, like 3 of the companies went underwater. They just couldn't like afford to stay alive. And it was a little depressing. Like I think I came back to Thailand and I think for 1 to 2 months, I was just like into some funk, like in like some realization, like this isn't really happening, right? This is like a movie, like having some global pandemic, like, like you have no idea what's happening. It's like a zombie movie almost. And, I was a little devastated at first, but then I picked it back up. Thailand became safe pretty quick, surprisingly. So they kept the numbers under 4,000 for almost 8-9 months. So they went into lockdown for 2 months. That's when I was depressed. Business opened back up, and then I ended up getting a project with like the Tourism Authority of Thailand for like 5-6 months. So this is a dream company that I worked with. I ended up pitching myself. So I walked in face to face, pitched myself the day that they opened. So literally the day that all businesses opened in Thailand because of COVID. I went in with my friend who's an introvert and I got him to pitch for us. And I ended up talking to him at the end because we found the American side and I got us a project. And so it's helped me stay afloat for a little bit. But then the project ended. The second wave hit. Depression kicked back in for like a few weeks. But then I ended up wanting to launch my mentor program. So I also planned on having the idea of like a sales masterclass happen once COVID hit. But then the idea faded once I had the project once I had the project tourism. But then like later on, once I think it was early this year, the second and third wave hit, that's when I figured I really want to push this mentor program. And I ended up launching it. And it's just a huge success off the get-go. I sold out the seats within 48 hours for the first round within 2 days. I have the second round going in the middle of the process right now. It's going really well. And, I think what I noticed a lot of my friends, even creator-wise, a lot of people were just launching products like e-products, presets, camera straps, bags, their own programs, learning courses. And I think it's incredible. I think a lot of these products bring a lot of value, right? Be smart with who you're buying the products from. But I think that they're awesome. A lot of these digital products are awesome.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel for you for going through those tough times, but I'm glad you picked it back up and
Thank you.
Came back through. Did you do it? Did you promote through an email list, or do you have an email list?
Yeah, I collected an email list at first, but I really just put everything into a Facebook community. So everyone who's interested, I got them to go into the Facebook community, and I just kept promoting content there. And yeah, that's how I ran with it. I just started the Instagram account for SeeLauTravel mentor program like a month and a half ago. So it was a new Instagram account. But yeah, I had everyone in the Facebook community at first, like last year.
Gotcha. I only brought that up because I know email lists are generally a great way of like getting traffic, generating income, and so forth. So let's talk about the opportunity with the next year or the next 2 years. So with a lot of things kind of coming back out, do you think there's any opportunities for people who kind of want to make a change in their life or kind of grab some type of brand deal or partnership in a time when maybe there's, not a lot of people, companies, travel companies starting back up? Do you think this new era of 2021 to 2022 is something like that?
Yeah, I think that, I think the opportunities are still going to be there. Like I said, I think that social media marketing is the future of advertisement. I totally think that content creators and influencers are going to be the way that a lot of people want to advertise in the next 5-10 years. But I think, again, the biggest problem is a lot of creators, they don't have the strategy. They don't know how to find the right decision makers. They don't know how to isolate the decision makers. They don't know how to write an email. A lot of these creators are joining an academy or a course, and they're just getting these email templates and they're copying and pasting and hoping that they're getting free stays and collaborations. Whereas I'm interviewing hotel managers and they're turning down creators because they could tell that they're using a copy and paste template. So I think it's definitely possible, but having the right strategy and having the right mindset and being smart with the way you do it, instead of sending out 200 emails and getting one reply back, yay, that's not a win to me, right? If you have to send out 100, 200 emails on every single trip, you're going to get burnt out. So having a solid strategy and way to do this, and knowing how to speak to these decision makers, right, is going to allow you to be successful. And I personally think that it's going to be around for a while. I think content creation and influencer marketing is going to be around for a while, but being able to do it properly is going to be key for a lot of people, especially when you're a small creator.
Yeah, I don't see any of this really going away soon, or another global pandemic happening soon. So I see like there might be a bit more opportunities these next couple of years, because I don't know, I feel like a lot of travel companies are coming back, and maybe less people are pitching them because they're still in a funk. So I don't know, could be an interesting time. So let's talk about like passion and skill. So it seems like you're very passionate about what you do, and that's part of the process to success here. Um, do you think photo/video skills are at a high level of requirement these days? Like, uh, is that something that's necessary, or is that something that uh, one can learn?
I think that's definitely something one can learn. I think photo and video skills definitely something one can learn. That's something I did. I learned off of YouTube, as crazy as it sounds, and just practice YouTube and practice. But that's definitely, I think, something that one can learn. And I definitely I'm a true believer that content creation is needed at a lot of hotels, a lot of businesses. They definitely need content. And even if you're a small creator or a big creator, they're looking for you.
Gotcha. So, what if someone like is listening to this and they are like ground zero? They're like taking photos with their camera, like their phone
Yeah.
camera, and
Well, one of my students in my mentor program currently, she uses her phone camera, and that was her number one concern. So, but I think that's totally fine as long as you're able to isolate other areas of value. You should be. You could be. You'll be fine, right? Phone camera doesn't
yeah,
matter. There's a lot of Instagrammers and creators that have thousands of followers. I know a couple big accounts that only takes photos with iPhone. So, you don't have to have a $10,000 Canon 1DX Mark III or anything like that to be able to be a creator. You got to learn other things, though, right? Learn how to edit, how to do other things to build your own value.
cool. And what about like places to travel, places to start this type of stuff? Can someone dip their toe in the water? Let's say they have a full time job, and then on the side, they start to build something by taking photos of their local city. Or let's say someone wants to start in Central America or the Maldives instead of Southeast Asia. I feel like it's
Can you
probably,
can you start there? You're saying, or I'm a little lost with the question. Sorry.
yeah, like what do you think someone can do to really get started in terms of location? Like, are they confined to certain areas, like let's say Southeast
If
Asia,
you're
because of
if you're in lockdown, you can't really go out or do anything. So like a couple of my students were in lockdown, so they couldn't even do anything. Depending, location wise, if you're in a city or anywhere that has businesses, I think you're going to be able to start almost anywhere, right? It's a matter of getting out and doing it. That's the one thing that everyone has issues of of doing before they take this leap of faith is everyone keeps fathoming the idea of leaving the 9 to 5, but they don't take the proper steps to actually do it. And if you don't really take the proper steps, you're only going to be, watching our videos on YouTube and thinking about doing it. But I think anywhere can do it. All my students are from all over the world. I have a student in Maldives. I have students in UK and all over the US and Canada, in the Caribbean, in Thailand, in Cambodia, and Australia. Anyone can do it with the right
Wow.
mindset and with the right mentoring, even potentially, if necessary.
Cool. What's your favorite? Go ahead.
Sorry. I think it's a lot easier, especially having the right mentor and knowing what you're doing, right? I think if you're just at a whim and just jumping into it, I think it's definitely hard. But if you're going to take it seriously, having the right guidance and investing in yourself is totally worth it. In regards to camera equipment, knowledge, how to edit, how to reach out to decision, everything. Like investing in yourself and knowing everything before you do it and preparing yourself is key.
Yeah, totally. I see where you're coming from. It's some people definitely can try and just do everything on their own for free, but sometimes a coach can kind of accelerate your progress. So what's your favorite place you've been, and what's your least favorite?
The most favorite. Oh gosh, I mean, this is really tough. But my 3 favorite countries that I love traveling, and I travel through a lot, is Indonesia, Thailand, and Philippines. I love tropical vibes, tropical destinations, island hopping. I absolutely love that. And for me, Indonesia is all about tropical adventures, literally volcanoes, in Java, or Komodo dragons. It's more adventurous. Philippines to me is island hopping. It's finding a sandbar, negotiating a longtail and island hopping, and I love that. And then Thailand has the best of both worlds. It has island hopping adventures, also culture. You can go to the north, it has mountains and a lot of culture. So I feel they're all different, and them 3 are my favorite countries. One of my coolest, most incredible experiences was going to Israel. One of my favorite trips was going to Israel for Hostel World. They reached out to me to do a project for 3 days, which I ended up extending to a 1.5 to 2-week trip. And I ended up going to Jordan and going to Petra, and that was just incredible. Seeing Petra, and I was a big Indiana Jones fan, so seeing Petra from Indiana Jones and being actually there was a cool, unique experience. There's no countries that I hate traveling to. One of my least memorable moments or experiences was maybe Morocco, running around the Medinas, I think, with our cameras. So one, in the Medinas in Morocco, they don't like being filmed. They don't like any cameras around. And for me and my friend, we're both YouTubers, and he had a bigger camera than I do. So it wasn't the best experience because there's Medinas in every city, and we wanted to film in all of them, but we're vlogging, and everyone was hating on us, turn your camera off, or some of the Medinas were a little worse. So we were had to be sneaky with it, and it was just an uncomfortable feeling, taking the camera out in either Casablanca or in Fez, wherever we're at. They were people would give us the worst looks when we would take our camera out. So that would be the most uncomfortable experience, maybe one of them. But yeah, I think the coolest I could say is Israel, Jordan, and learning about the history. I was grown as a Catholic. I was brought up as Catholic, so I learned about Jesus and everything. And going to where Jesus was born and all that was just incredible to see. For me, the whole Israel Jordan trip was probably one of my favorites. And yeah, I would say Morocco was most uncomfortable.
Gotcha. You like tennis. Have you ever considered using your sales skills to book a stay when they're doing a big tennis tournament or tennis finals?
The problem is right now of the COVID situation. I think that's the number one.
Right.
I've been in talks. I mean, I'm speaking to, I don't know if I should say this, I'm in talks with a couple of big tennis pros, just personal talks on Instagram. They actually follow me. Whereas once it's really safe, I'm going to pitch. I'm 100% going to pitch on hey, I'd love to come to X, Y, and Z tournament. A couple of them host some big tournaments in the US. And I've meandered my brand. Last year, November, I worked with Tanya Pora out in Phuket. They're the number one sports and they're the number one tennis resort in Asia. So I worked with them for one full week, made a couple videos. One of the first clothing companies I worked with was Travis Matthew. They're a big tennis and golf company in the U.S. I've worked with like Tokyo, Thailand. They're a tennis, like a WTA tournament out here in Thailand. They're at a tournament, professional tournament for women. And I did an Instagram story when I was there 2 years ago, and the director saw it because I had like 20K followers, and they ended up giving us like players passes, lounge passes. They're like, come all week. And I was like, oh, like this is awesome. So like I've worked with a tennis tournament before, but I never really had the opportunity yet to do a full pitch because of COVID. And I can tell you right now, Will, I'm preparing myself to tap into the tennis world. I hate saying this, but tennis has been my passion for a very long time. And I even told my friends this when I quit my 9-to-5 job to do YouTube. I said, watch me tap into the tennis world, hopefully in like a few years. Like no matter what it is, like I'm a big believer in following your dreams and passion and figuring out a way to get there. And I personally feel like the last year and some of the brands that I've worked with, including talking to right now and the people that I'm speaking to, I might have that opportunity hopefully in the next couple of years. We'll see. Knock on wood. And I would be happy. I'd be ecstatic if I can do this. So we'll see.
Yeah, it seems like such a natural progression, and COVID's not going to last forever. I mean,
Hopefully.
it seems like you're going to do it. You should do it. Um, and I think that's the beauty of YouTube or social media or whatever it is, because there's versatility. Like for me, I'm not the biggest tennis fan, for example, but I have other interests like Pokemon and so forth, or
Nice.
someone else might like motorcycles and Harley Davidsons. And let's say, if their base is travel, they could still flex a bit. There might be a Harley Davidson travel resort somewhere that they could potentially
Yeah.
pitch and get the best of both worlds. So I don't know. It's interesting how you're already thinking about that.
I was thinking about that before I even quit my 9-to-5. No joke. Like I'm so passionate in tennis. Like once I realized it and put everything in place, the value I can bring and like my mindset and the sales and skills and everything like that, how I've been able to reach out to the right people and speak their language. I've been speaking to some people who I never thought I'd be able to talk to. So we'll see what happens with those conversations.
Yeah, and it really seems like it's really that sales skill, that business development that's helped you along, because you're mentioning brands and stuff that you would assume, oh, I have to wait until I'm at least 1 million subscribers or something to even consider that. But definitely not at 53K. So that's incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I guess question about the people who follow you. So that's really cool. It's for you to just kind of do what you enjoy and then have almost like celebrities follow you with such a small condensed audience. Were you surprised when that happened? Were you like, oh,
Yeah.
this is to be
Oh, yeah.
expected?
I mean, no, definitely not. I was definitely surprised. I would literally run to my wife Rachel and be like, oh my God, he's following me, like, and then show her like the DMs. Like I said, it's like the same feeling as getting a hotel collaboration. I'm a micro creator. I still believe I'm a micro creator, and I'm very grateful, right? I think that's one thing that allows me to keep going with what I do today is I'm very grateful, and I don't ever want to take anything for advantage, right? I don't, like I should be in this hotel, right? I don't think that way.
Right.
I feel like I'm very grateful for what I do, and I know there's a lot of hard work that leads up to it, but as long as you're able to work smart, things are a lot easier as long as you're able to work smart.
Right. Do you know why they follow you? Like, is it just because like they stumble across you one day and they're like, wow, I really want to travel there myself?
Yeah, I mean, I think partially because of that, maybe the content and how I explore. I think from what I hear, I think a lot of people and my students tell me this. I'm very genuine. I think I come off very genuine in my stories and my content. I've noticed, a lot of creators do things just for the gram, right? I've traveled with a lot of creators, and I've seen things that I wish I would have never seen that they literally just do for a story, and then once the camera is off, it's just like a different person. And that's disgusting. Like I personally I don't like that. And I don't like people like that. And I've seen that in the sales culture, right? I hate saying this, but 90% of the sales culture, 95, it's just you would think slime ball, right? Like the car salesman, and there aren't a lot of good people like that out there in sales, especially. And content creators wise, it can be the same thing. I think that's why some people will dislike celebrities, right? Because I think some content creators get to the point where they feel like they're celebrities at that certain extent, so they act like it. So they feel like they're riding this high horse, and no one owes you anything. That's what a lot of people don't realize, is no one owes you anything. It doesn't matter how big of a follower you are, as long as you're humble, as long as you're very grateful for what you have around you, and you show that in everything, your stories and everything you do, and that's who you are. I think that you're going to lead to genuine followers. And for me personally, I think that's why a lot of people follow me, is because I'm a family guy. I like to have fun. I think a lot of people can relate to me too. I play tennis. I show that in my stories every day. I scream almost every day. I think people see that too. And I think a lot of people can just relate to me, and I'm very genuine.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I believe sales and empathy are important traits for all of us to have, whether or not some of our listeners end up traveling the world or staying at their job. I think it can help all of us. So kind of like getting to the final questions, like, do you have any parting tips on sales, on empathy, on pitching that you want to impart on listeners?
Yeah. I would say be confident with everything you do. Prepare yourself as best as you can. Everything isn't just about photography, videography, and that. It's really the business side. I think majority of it, I hate saying this, is the business side. I'm going to keep saying this. My content creation sucks. I think compared to a lot of creators, like a lot of my videos, photography, I think I'm terrible compared to a lot of the creators out there with that much skill set. They have a lot of skill sets out there. But the problem is my business skills and my sales skill set is a lot better than theirs. And that's why I'm able to make it. Whereas they're still wondering why aren't I getting an email back, right? Why aren't people responding back to my work? And again, it's great to get those collaborations, but if you have to send out 50, 100 emails every single time, every trip you go on, you're going to get burnt out quick. So if you don't have the right strategy to reach out to people, and having the right outreach, having the right media kit, having the right email template, sending out the emails at the right time, to responding in the right time, to isolating pain points, asking the right questions to these decision makers. If you can't do any of that, it's going to be a lot harder to really make this into a lifestyle, because not everyone is a Sam Colder. Not everyone has the skill set of Chelsea Kauai or anything like that. So if you don't have that, you need to have other skill sets. So for me, I'm much better in business and sales than a lot of these creators are. And that's why I created the mentor program. So, I mean, if anyone's really interested in checking it out, I have an interview process. I'm not a creator that tries to sell you anything. I want to make sure I can actually help people out. I interview people. I make sure we align success on the same page. And if we can align success on the same page, I introduce and I invite them into the mentor program. And it's up to them if they want to be a part of it. And almost everyone that I've spoken to that I accepted into the program has want to be a part of it.
That's awesome. Do you have any links for that mentor program or anything else you want to share right now?
Yeah, you could. People can go to SeeLauTravelMentorProgram.com, or you can even check out on Instagram. My Instagram is SeeLauTravel, but my mentor program's Instagram is SeeLauTravel Mentor Program. And there's a lot of free content there. There's a lot of tips, insiders, tricks, like info on my Instagram account too, and also knowledge on when I plan on launching the next round. I'm even partnering. So like, I'm running a partnership. I've partnered with Banyan Tree. I don't know if you're familiar with the brand. Banyan Tree is one of the largest 5-star chains in the world. They've actually partnered with my mentor program, giving the opportunity for students to get a collaboration out of the get-go, right out of my mentor program. They'll fly you out to one of the designated locations in Banyan Tree, and they'll give you a 4-night, 5-day collaboration. So I ended up partnering with them. I'm in the process of partnering with a lot of other brands, because I think a lot of these brands believe in what I'm doing. They believe that a lot of small creators have better value than a lot of these bigger creators who don't really appreciate it, right? It feels like their work isn't as genuine. So a lot of these brands want to work with me to help leverage, my outreach and my skill set. And I'm able to give these incredible opportunities to a lot of future students. So if anyone's interested, definitely check out SeeLauTravelMentorProgram.com or the Instagram page.
Yeah, and Lau is spelled Lau, just if anyone's curious. Yeah, that's awesome. Christopher. That's incredible. It seems like you've fine tuned every part of your pitches so that conversion rates much higher. Um, and yeah, it's been great having you. So, final questions.
Okay.
And
No, take your time.
do you have a I love this question because Tim Ferriss asked it, but I really want to ask you too. Do you have a product you've bought that has been the most instrumental for you? He usually says $100 or less, but I'm going to take that off. Whatever the price is.
Okay. A product that I bought that's like most important to me right now, currently, personally.
That's yielded the most to you in terms of your
Okay.
success, your happiness, and so forth.
I think it's this. I think I think the drone changed my life. I think the drone. I didn't jump into this right away. Like this didn't catch my eye. Like the camera and
Mm-hmm.
like photography and videography. Again, naturally, I wasn't content creator mindset. So the first thing that caught my eye in content creation was the ability to fly a drone and just that different perspective. And I think when I first saw it, it just blew my mind, and I started getting more into travel vlogs. And then I ended up buying my own drone when I was on that 4 month trip around the world. Like I didn't even travel vlog yet. I bought a really crappy drone that I ended up crashing into one of the lakes in Vietnam, northern Vietnam. Like in 4 days, I had the drone. But I was so like into like flying it and getting content and yeah. So I think for me personally, the drone has just changed my life significantly.
Gotcha. And what model is that? And tell me a bit more about
Oh,
like
this is the
specifications.
DJI. This is the DJI Mavic Pro 2 Zoom. I actually have two of them with me. I have another one in my bag, so I have one as a backup, and then I also have an FPV drone. So I've been practicing in flying FPV drones. I put the goggles on, and it's like a race drone. It flies really fast, and it gets a different perspective. But this is the DJI Mavic Pro 2 Zoom. The first drone that I ever bought ever was about 4 years ago. Was the DJI Phantom 3 Professional, and I ended up crashing that at Lake Tahoe after having it for 3-4 months. And then I ended up buying a Mavic Pro 1, so the version before this, and I ended up using it forever. Like I used it, I crashed it a few times and it still worked. But I used it until like the battery life was only like 14 minutes, and I've had over 200 flights on each battery. And it was time to buy this, and I bought two of them. It's actually one to have as a backup. And yeah, I love drones. You know, these are definitely my bread and butter for the work that I do, and that's why I needed a backup one, especially.
That's awesome. Do you have any final parting thoughts? Any questions you wish I had asked? This is your final time to talk to our audience.
No, I mean, I think this was a great call. I really appreciate your time, Will. For anyone, I guess for anyone who's listening, you know, who's not sure if they can, you know, leave the 9 to 5, they think they should. As crazy as it sounds, I feel like I'm just some normal guy from Michigan. So I grew up in Michigan, right? And I lived in Michigan for 25 years of my life. I went to New York for 3 years, ended up teaching tennis, and I moved to New York, and then I moved to California for 4 years before I started doing this. You know, with the right mindset, the right skill set, anyone can do it. I feel like I'm just some normal guy who shouldn't be here, honestly, who shouldn't have met his wife, have a kid, and really still doing this. I feel like some normal guy. But because of having the right skill set, the right mindset, that literally it's the business skill set and mindset that really drove me to be able to do this. If I wasn't able to get collaborations in the US, if I wasn't able to get the projects in the US, right? I felt like if you can do it in the US, you can do it anywhere in the world. I probably wouldn't have quit. I probably wouldn't have left. But because of the sales mindset, the skill set that I have, I was able to get the collaborations and a couple projects in the US that gave me the confidence to leave. And once I left, I never turned around. You know, I kept it going. It's a snowball effect, and my content kept growing. The more businesses and brands I worked with, the more brands wanted to work with me. And as long as more brands wanted to work with me, I would just keep growing and keep going. And I hate saying this, guys. At the end of the day, it all is because of business and sales mindset, right? I personally, again, my content creation isn't best, but because I'm able to reach out to the right people, have an email response rate of 80% instead of industry standard, which is like 10 to 15. So I'm able to work a lot less. I hate saying this, but get better results. That's what ultimately has allowed me to survive and be successful today. So, I mean, if anyone's interested, truly, you know, the mentor program is huge. there's no creators out